you to please turn with me to the first book of Samuel, chapter 16. The first book of Samuel, chapter 16, and we'll read together verses 1 to 13. First book of Samuel, chapter 16, and verses 1 to 13. This morning we want to look at the secret of David's greatness and power. The secret. What made him great? What made him powerful? Now we could spend days talking about that, but I've just put a little message together so that we can grab something and take home with us. The secret of David's greatness and power. Reading from the first book of Samuel, chapter 16, verses 1 to 13, from the New American Standard. Now the Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you grieve over Saul, since I have rejected him from being king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and go, and I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have selected a king for myself among his sons." But Samuel said, "How can I go? When Saul hears of it, he will kill me." And the Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. And you shall invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do. And you shall anoint for me one whom I designate to you." So Samuel did what the Lord said and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the city came trembling to meet him and said, "Do you come in peace?" And he said, "In peace I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." He also consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. Then it came about when they entered that he looked at Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointing is before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For God sees not as a man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel, and he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Next, he said, "Next, Shammah passed by, and he said, Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Thus Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen these." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Are these all the children?" And he said, "There remains yet the youngest, and behold, he is tending the sheep." Then Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and bring him, for we will not sit down until he comes here." So he sent and brought him in. But he was ruddy, with beautiful eyes, and a handsome appearance. And the Lord said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is he." Then Samuel took a horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon David from that day forward. And Samuel arose and went to Ramah. May the Lord add his blessings to his precious word this morning. Amen. I trust you have gathered much from our reading. Here was David, the youngest of 8 sons. He was what we would say the least, the smallest, the most insignificant, the one considered unimportant, doing the most insignificant, undesired, unappreciated job of all the brothers. What is he doing? Keeping the sheep. Brothers and sisters, here is a tremendous lesson for all of us. God doesn't so much look at what we are doing as much as how we are doing it. So don't aspire for great jobs. Don't aspire for great titles. It means nothing to God. Did you know that? You could be Lord Mayor of London and everybody could fall down at your feet, but it means absolutely nothing to God. So your titles is really zero. Rather, he's concerned about how. How are you doing it? What is your heart attitude? David is keeping the sheep. I believe God has assigned us all to be keepers. Something God has put in your hands to keep. So in a way, we are all keepers. We all are responsible for something or someone. So you are a keeper.
Amen.
To that very loaded question by God to Cain in the Garden of Eden. Where is your brother? Cain, where is your brother? Cain replies very cheaply. He says, am I my brother's keeper? And so I want to put it to you this morning, like I have many times in the past. If you're not your brother's keeper, then you are your brother's killer. God is watching you. God is watching every one of us. The way you keep your room, the way you take out the trash, the way you go about your practicals, the way you treat your family, the way you treat your brothers and sisters, the way you treat your father and mother. He's watching. He's made you a keeper. He's watching your heart attitude. How much of what you say is what you really mean? We're like a babbling bunch. Come in on a Sunday morning and we say, we love you, Jesus, we love you, Jesus, we love you, Jesus. And the rest of the week, we just give him a kick up his back and say, we don't need you, we're too busy. We've got no time to pray, no time to read these words, no time for anything. But like sanctimonious hypocrites, we lift up our hands and say, we love you. No relationship will exist or be sustained by a once a week, I love you. And yet we choose to do that and we think we're doing fine. How much of what you say you really mean? Is there value? What value can you put in, I love you? Is there a value or there's no value at all? What does it cost you to say, I love you? Jesus, does it cost you anything? If it costs you nothing, it means nothing at all. Loving Jesus must cost you. Because when you love someone, it costs you to love them. Love is not in a vacuum. There's a price tag attached to love.
God so loved that he gave. You cannot love without giving. Does your words and commitments have any value at all? Or is it just vain repetition? Do you say what you know they want to hear in order to get what you want? We are experts at that. We see that happening all the time. We chase after people and we know what will tickle them, what will make them real look and feel good. And so we play on their feelings. Do you know what's that called? Lying. And you know who the father of lies is? So you're the child of the devil. I'm not. When you lie. When you lie. When it was time to promote David, they knew exactly where he was and what he was doing. David was faithful. Somehow we don't find faithful people anymore. David was dependable. It's a word that we don't use in the English language anymore because you could really find dependable people. David was loyal. Oh, they say don't use that word, loyal. Because we are people with freedom to choose. So today we can be loyal here and tomorrow we can... Is that loyal? David was committed. Another word that's missing from our vocabulary. Committed. God's looking for such people because he wants to anoint them. God's looking for such people because he wants to put his power into their lives. That's all you need. But it's going to cost you. I want you next to notice how God's perspective and man's perspective are revealed so clearly in this passage. What man considered to be of least importance is now the most important among them. It now becomes most important because you'll see that in verse 11. They hadn't even considered David, but now they're on their feet waiting for David's arrival. And what verse 11 says, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he comes. Amen. He was the most insignificant one. And now they're on their toes waiting for David to come. We can't sit until he comes. That's what they do to presidents and kings. He was not yet even anointed. But they were already standing up and waiting for him. Amen. That's what will happen when God touches your life. Amen. People will stand up and wait for you. Because you'll have something for them. See, man promotes abilities and talents. But God promotes a clean heart. Man looks at the outside. God looks at the inside. Proverbs 18 and verse 16 says, a man's gift maketh room for him and brings him before great men. Man's gifts brings him before great men. Your gifts and your abilities may bring you before great men. But your heart after God's heart, your hunger and thirst after God's heart will take you to God's presence. Your gifts and your talents will only take you before men. But the right heart will take you before God. You see, Joseph's gifts brought him before Pharaoh. But his heart attitude made him Prime Minister of Egypt. God said, I have provided for myself a king among the sons of Jesse. Basically, God was saying, I've been watching the sons of Jesse. I've been watching each one of them. I've been observing them and the way they think and the way they act and the way they behave. And I've made my selection. God's watching your heart attitude all the time. I've learned that greatness is not a one-time event. Did you know that? Greatness is not a one-time event. Most people who aspire for greatness think that if I can do something big, if I can just make a name for myself, I'll become great. We see that David, his greatness was not when he became king, was not when he was anointed. I've learned that greatness is not doing one great thing in a big way, but doing little things in a big way. Doing little things, insignificant things, things that people will not say anything about, but doing it with all your heart, putting everything into it. That's what will make you great finally. Great means great in humility. Great in a heart attitude towards God. My whole life, the Lord showed me that it's not doing some great things, but it's just doing the little things in a great manner. Little things like sweeping, like washing, like cleaning, like getting the toilets clean. Don't promote yourself. Don't say, I've already finished the toilets, now I've got a promotion. Who do you think to promote yourself? In no place you can promote yourself. But you come into the church of God, into the work of God, and suddenly you want to promote yourself. I did that last year, now I'm promoted. Now I'm a leader. Who said you're a leader? Who gave you such a designation? It is only God that promotes, not any man. For years and years and years, I just cleaned the church. There wouldn't be anybody that will volunteer to paint and clean the church during holidays. You know, we don't have money to go to grandma's house, to go to the malls, to go to those places. My holidays was always in the house of God, painting and cleaning. From morning till night, that's all I did. And nobody else came. But it didn't matter, because I loved serving God in His house. Painting and cleaning and cutting the grass and cleaning the toilets all day, every day for the holidays. That was my holiday. And I loved serving God in those practical ways. For years and years and years, nobody promoted me. Nobody said, look at this boy, look what he's doing. Nobody even cared. Did I care? No. I was doing it for Jesus. And Jesus, He sees that. He saw David. Nobody else noticed him. Not even his father. Not his brothers. Not even the prophets. God saw David. I want you to know this morning that God sees your heart attitude. And when I started my business, I was amazed at the favor God gave me. I had both my businesses in the so-called white area of Durban, where it was not possible for a black man to operate from. Favor. You ask me about favor. I know God's favor. I have people work for me that I'm supposed to be submitting to because of the color of their skin.